This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so given the fact that you just watched Munich, I think we should start off with how telling that movie is. So since it's like salient in your mind, like, yeah, what were your initial takeaways? If you don't know what we're talking about Munich on Netflix. You should totally watch it. It's a great parallel between what happened in World War II and what's going on right now. All right, go for it.
Yeah, the official title is Munich, The Edge of War.
Because they are on the edge of war, yes.
Yeah. It seems like we are as well at this time.
Well, I mean, technically, Ukraine's already in war, so...
No, I know, but true. Yeah.
You mean like the edge of World War III?
Edge of World War III. Yeah. It's really interesting how very, very similar it is to today.
Yeah. I noticed that too when I first watched it, how like if you can hear like something clinking around in my mouth. I have a Halls because I've got allergies, but the movie itself is like, it's so mundane in its progression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like nothing big happens in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like everything is just like a political back and forth to try and mitigate any potential further expansion by Germany into what was the place that they were taking over?
I think it was Czech.
Okay, similar to right now, like Russia's taking over Ukraine. So like that happened in the movie, and that was kind of the the initial like what do you call that? It's like the spark.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
right. It's like the initial
catalyst.
Thank you. That's the word. Yeah, it was the catalyst to like World War II, right? So, well, I mean, there are other catalysts. You can technically say, like, if you look at America's Pearl Harbor, right? It's like the catalyst for America to join the war, right? But the actual war itself was kind of built off this one moment where they were like expanding back into the Czech Republic. You said Czech, right?
Yeah, I think it was Czech. Probably after World War One, they may have lost some German territories. I thought
Okay, so they're trying to get it back, just like how Russia right now is like, oh well, we just want. This was a part of us before, we just want it back. And then
right.
The prime minister at the time, he went to Russia to, he went to Germany to speak with Hitler.
To Munich, yeah. Specifically Munich.
Yeah, and while there, you know, they played these like political games. But really what it is like, it's the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the movie was kind of about. And that's why it's so relevant to today's time and like the parallels, because it kind of feels like there is this calm before storm. I know I was saying in many podcasts, like there's no way they're going to do a hot war with America, you know, because it made no sense. Like to me, it feels like a losing battle. Like why would you even engage in that, you know?
Right.
But I could be wrong, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's see, where is this new world order? Who are the new allies in this
Yeah, true.
That's also what's
And it's almost like
happening.
not even, the thing is, it's almost like not even a choice. It's almost like a forced decision. If they like attack NATO countries, right? Because they have to join it or whatever. Like what they were saying before. Like if you attack a NATO country, we have to come in because it's just a part of our agreement.
That's part of the agreement. Yeah.
Right. So if that does happen, it's not like they're choosing to be a part of war. It's like you just forced our hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then that could spark an entire World War III system.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Like likelihood
Of a World War III?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a tough bargain for Russia to want that, because I don't think they anticipated this long to try to take Kiev or Kiev.
Yeah.
So the struggle that Russia's having in doing that, why would you go to World War III? Like,
because it's like, oh, we aren't as powerful as we thought we were.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like where I think at least in the before the Germany's or Nazi Germany's time, they were relatively more powerful in that sense.
Right. And I think what we're also not looking at here as well is that movie. It wasn't until a year later, after the end of that movie, that they went to war.
Yeah.
So the main character, he was like, oh, it kind of seems like we're heading into war. I need to prepare myself,
Mm-hmm.
And like he had the foresight.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like it's not going to be like a tomorrow thing. Like all of a sudden tomorrow's not going to be like World War III, but it could be like a year from now, 2 years from now, something's going to happen.
Yeah. And I feel like if that is the case, then like,
if it were to happen, I'm saying.
Yeah. And like if Russia and China would need to be like very good in their allies.
Yeah, together.
Because they have to be together. Because that's the only way. I think they'll have some damage on both sides. Like,
does it? I'm not sure where I think my cousin was talking about this, but like China doesn't seem like it's like jumping too far into what Russia's doing right now, because they're like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
it's not working out like we thought. All right, hold on, we're not going to jump on your boat right away.
Right. Yeah. I don't think China wants the war either, because it's just not.
It's not economically feasible for all parties. Yeah. But it's like you're kind of at the, like, if you have nothing to lose, you might as well go for it. Russia, I mean, but like China's got something to lose,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have a lot of partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff's made in China. Mm-hmm. So when they saw like, oh, all these places are annexing, or not annexing, sorry, they're sanctioning Russian stuff. They're like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
this could happen to us. It's like, oh, I didn't expect it to go this far. Like a total concerted effort,
Mm-hmm.
Towards that.
Yeah, I would need to know, did they do any sanctions, or were any of those sort of things able to be done even in Nazi time, like before the war happened?
I don't know. Yeah,
I wonder if there was any similarities to that too with Germany.
That'd be interesting to look at. Yeah. But I mean, like, are we really so dumb that we're going to repeat history? You know what I mean? Like, it's like we have all this knowledge, and yet you still can't pull yourself away from.
Yeah. That's why I like the Prime Minister's line where he's like, he's been to World War I and he didn't want World War II.
Yeah. Like he directly saw the issues surrounding.
Yeah, and he
war.
said that I think World War II is going to be even worse.
Wait, was it though? It was.
It
right?
was. Yeah.
Way worse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was it actually worse, or was like the casualties worse because of the Holocaust? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I don't think it was necessarily because of the Holocaust. Just in war in general, maybe there was more like bigger military equipment and like those sort of things.
As
like,
technology progresses, your ability to destroy.
Yeah.
Each
so
other
like now
progresses as well.
I mean, even now, like if we do nuclear bombs, it's like.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that'll be even bigger than World War.
Because like you'd have to select your spot. Like if whoever's gonna go first. Like let's say Russia breaks that treaty and they're like, okay, we're gonna use a bomb, like a nuclear bomb. You have to select so carefully where you're gonna go, and make sure it counts, because the retaliation is going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, they're all talking about like the threat of like Putin being like, oh yeah, like nothing you've ever seen before. But it's like, really? Like, is that just hyperbole? Like, do you really have something that's like, we're not gonna, are you gonna unleash the aliens and the aliens are gonna attack us? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't think it's like that. I think it's just like, is he willing to use nuclear weapons? That's what they're putting up as the fear, right? I don't know if he would do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's like, I'm sure somebody would stop you. Like we talked about this in the last podcast,
yeah,
right?
we talked about that. I think if he uses that, then it's different.
I think a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think if he does use it, they're probably going to force decommissioning of nuclear weapons, because the destruction will be so insane. Like anybody who sees that, like if you see, like let's say Russia drops a nuke like on New York, right? Everybody around the world is going to be like, no, we need to not use this anymore. Like, this is too crazy of a, like, the death toll is too catastrophic.
Yeah.
You know? But no matter what side you are,
you
know?
Right.
I just can't see it getting to that. I mean, I'd be surprised.
I just don't think so.
But what is crazy, though, is, like, what the Netflix movie really shows is that there's a lot of stuff that leads up to these things,
of course,
that we really don't pay attention to until you look back and you can connect the dots. You know what I mean? Everything is like 20/20 hindsight.
Yeah. Nothing ever just happens. There's always a lead up. There's steps that each step, whatever the actions are leading to something at the end.
Right,
could be war,
right.
Could be hopefully peace, like other sort of things. Because they were, even at the movie, it was like the guy that was from Germany,
he was
he believed that this guy's gonna be, he's really bad, like we have to kill Hitler. But there's still that little hope, like maybe
he'll like
maybe
maybe
peace can actually happen, maybe. So there's still that, you know what I mean? You can't,
like the hope.
Yeah, you have that hope, but you can't react unless something else happens.
I personally don't believe in hope. I don't think it's like it's a tool, but I think it's a weak tool, you know, because like hope is kind of you're waiting for somebody else to take charge of the situation, you know what I mean, versus like you doing it yourself, because there's no hope if you're doing it for yourself, right? Like you're actively working towards something. You can be
no, I think it was more like,
no, I'm just thinking about like hope in general.
Okay.
Like hope as an idea, because like I've
Sure.
heard that, you know, it does change people's brains. They've done like scientific studies around that. Like if you have hope, you're more resilient, right? Because you're like,
yeah.
right,
Yeah,
it makes
sure.
sense. It logically makes sense
Yeah.
too if you think about it. But like, I think that it's one of the lesser tools. Like personally, because I think that you can go further with things like determination, you know, persistence. That's a big one,
Yeah,
for me, right?
I-
As opposed to hope, it's like,
I think in general, I think the hope is more around things that you can't control.
that's what I mean. And
Right.
it's like, that's why it's a lesser thing, because it's like you're really just waiting for somebody else to do something. Whereas, like, no, because like, okay, things you can't control, but people utilize that tool, like in the grandest scheme, right? Like war right now, right?
Yeah.
We hope it doesn't go to that. That's a lesser tool. But it's like,
Yeah, of course.
I hope that I make $1 million, but you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's like,
No, that's
wrong
not the
tool,
same thing.
Wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
not
what
the
I mean.
same thing.
It's like a lesser tool.
Yeah.
It's like you really just gotta.
That's more of a like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. How can you get $1 million if you're not doing anything?
Right. And like, to me, hope is kind of like when people say, you know, let go and let God. Because it's like, it's up to you, you know?
Yeah, again, it's still like, I get it. Maybe there's like two definitions to it, right? There's hope on things that you can't control, but then...
But then I would call optimism. I know where you're going.
Yeah, I think
that's
you're
more
right.
optimism.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope this works out. That's just being optimistic. It's like, I trust that it'll work out, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's hope. You're just like utilizing
Sure.
the wording correctly.
Okay,
You know.
that makes sense.
Well, all right. So this, I don't know why this sparked my thought, but like, CNN was profiling all these Ukrainians who were going back to like protect their homeland,
Okay.
and they're like, "Well, this is where I grew up," blah blah blah. And I was like, I wonder if I would feel that way if Canada, like if I was in a different country and Canada was going to war. I don't know if I'd be that patriotic. Like, would you? I don't know. That's like, wow.
I don't.
If my family was here, okay, sure. But like, if you're just fighting for a piece of land, it's like, okay, really, you want this? Putin, you really want this piece of land? All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Or do you feel differently? You think you like fight for Canada?
I mean, all this land and stuff is such arbitrary. Like we made up these.
That's why it's so silly.
We made up these boundaries, right?
But you know what the boundaries are for, though? Trade.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, we're going to risk our lives for people who are in higher positions of power to fight over resources and trade, but you're utilizing the moniker of like nationalism or patriotism to like force me into something that is actually so ridiculous. Like, you mean, like, what are you really fighting for?
Yeah,
My land.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
But it's not your land, though.
Yeah. Like how many times, it's just how many times over even like the last 1,000 years, all these border lines
Maps
are
get
all
shaped all the time.
It
Yeah.
keeps changing. So what's going to happen in another 1,000 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. But I guess you're looking at that in the broader perspective, immediate. How does it really affect your life, kind of thing? I think that's where.
But they were in a different country. That's why I was like, whoa. Like, they're profiling all these people who were living in like U.S. and then they went back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very patriotic. I don't think I ever.
What is patriotism at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Like, really, what is patriotism at the end of the day? Flying the flag. Like, you know what I mean? It's like in group, out group. There's nothing.
But it's been it's been there for a long time. We do it in Olympics. We do it at all sorts of events.
And that's the problem. It's like when you attach too heavily. Oh, this is kind of going to the next topic I was going to talk about, which is like Sadhguru. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you heard of Sadhguru?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Let me get into that after. But so he had the best definition of what a yogi is. I had never heard anything better than this. I was like, this is actually excellent. He's like, a yogi is a person who sees the oneness in all things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you just see that, like, he's like, it has nothing to do with postures. The reason why yogis would practice a posture and most yoga masters would only get really good at one posture is because they just want to sit for longer periods of time so they can explore internally what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in order to like meditate or go internal, well, that's different because you can meditate in motion, but if you want to explore your inner world, like your imagination and like whatever's going on, so not esoterically, like when you close your eyes, there's a world there.
Yeah.
Right? It's just your mind.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to explore that, you have to be able to sit for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So yogis would learn a posture in order to like strengthen their bodies enough to sit for a long time. That's all it is. Okay?
Yeah, right.
So when he said that, I was like, that's genius. That's actually completely accurate if you like read the text and stuff. So anyways, if we take the definition of what a yogi is like he sees the oneness in all things, then you really don't care about these arbitrary lines in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you're just like, it's just earth. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, what is patriotism? Like, when you ask that question, like, really, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a very materialistic thing, I would say.
Yeah. And that's really why we have wars in the first place, like materialism.
Yeah.
But really though, like like the idea of like one roped off piece of land as compared to another one is strictly an economic thing. It's a business.
Yeah.
Right. But like if you supersede the idea of business and you just look at humanity as a whole, it seems ridiculous. If you actually look at it from that lens though, from the yogic lens,
sure.
like we're all just one people.
Mhm.
Like, why are you freaking out?
Mhm.
You know. Anything else about the war before I jump into Sadhguru?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, not really. I think it's more related to that, just the Sadhguru thing with, like, we're all one people, right? So, like,
Yeah, totally.
but we're also, like, they're also then attacking like, killing other people.
But that's the
we all think
materialism.
that's all, yeah.
It's like identification states. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
All right. But that is a very yogic viewpoint. So we can say that.
Yeah.
But as a person who's going through it and is feeling those emotions,
It's
you can't invalidate those emotions.
Of course not. Yeah.
So if you want to fly the flag, totally up to you. But like, your life just may be a little bit more peaceful if you just let that go.
But I don't think but it's like they're being attacked, right? So it's like then Russia should not be attacking either, right?
Totally.
So it's like we're talking about it in that sense. Like, but I don't want to just blame patriots, right?
What do you mean?
It's not like
But why are they attacking?
Why Russia is attacking?
A business reason.
Sure, yeah. No, I know. I understand that. I'm saying, like, for people that wants to go back to fight to protect their land is because someone else is attacking the land, right? So if they weren't attacking...
That's why I asked you the question. If you were living in a different country, would you come back to fight for Canada?
For me, I don't think so. I'm not
I'd be like, that's up to you guys. Like, you guys are going through this strife right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very reminiscent of climate change. I'll also get into that in this podcast, but like, it really is though, because like you just have to learn how to adapt. That's like saying, I want to get into Sadhguru, but we're talking about climate change now.
Sure.
All right, so climate change is something you can't. All right, it's no secret that the climate's changing. Right. Okay. The real question is how much of it is man-made or not. That is a separate. We'll get into that, but really, what I'm trying to say here is, are you going to fight? Like, climate change is going to force us to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going to have to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Miami goes underwater, you're going to have to move.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, where the boundaries change over 1,000 years.
Totally,
what's going to happen?
It's just like war, though. It's like, this is out of your hands, bro. If you're going to fight, like, what are you going to do? You're going to put up like if climate change, Miami sinking, what are you going to do? You're going to go volunteer your time to put like water bags or like re-engineer.
There will be people that do that. But
there will be people who do that. Yeah, totally. You'll re-engineer the city in order to like make sure it floats, something like that. But it's like, leave that to the people who are vestedly interested in that thing.
Yeah.
Right, but like, just like war, it's something that very few of us can control. Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, why are you gonna get wrapped up so heavily into it? If it's gonna disturb your peace, just move. Just move. All right, cool. You guys are like, all these countries opened up their like refugee status, right? Like, you can come here. All right, cool. I'm gonna go to Canada then. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you guys got free healthcare. I could be a Canadian citizen. Sweet deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what they're doing now, right? That's why there's 3 million refugees from Ukraine.
Yeah. But you have to look at like a war similar to climate change. It's like, that's something beyond our. That's something that's specially reserved for people in that situation. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a politicalist or like a lobbyist or like a G Summit person, like, sure, totally, that's your sphere. But a regular person, like, why are you gonna get so upset about that?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, climate change happens, your home's gone. War happens, your home's gone. But the beauty of, the human being is the ability to adapt. And it's not like they're being left in the cold. It's not like the whole world's like, oh, you're going, like, there's a Ukraine war, like, you guys are cool there. You guys have to deal with that yourself. Mm-hmm. No, so many countries are like, you can come to us. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, you have options, and like, just move, adapt. I mean, that sounds callous. Yeah. Like, or you move. I'm like, okay, if it
well, that's
really
what they are, right?
I'd be like, yeah.
No. That's why they are, right? That's why there's the refugees, 3 million refugees, right? They are moving. It just sucks because you're leaving your home.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You're
Never said
uprooting
didn't suck.
everything. Yeah, because you're leaving everything that you're uprooting everything that you've.
Yeah, totally. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, this sucks too. But
Yeah.
like, this is life.
Yeah, that's why they do. That's why there's refugees, right? They are trying to find
Yeah, totally.
to get out of the
For sure.
the mayhem that Russia has created. Yeah,
What's the population of
Ukraine.
yeah?
I don't
Because
know.
I wonder if like if you like do the math, it's like the majority of people are like, oh, not our problem. They just move. You know what I mean?
Now that it's not their problem. It's if you want to live, you have to get out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, what are those other wars that are going on right now? And there's like no refugee assistance.
44 million.
44 million. Okay, that's quite a lot. And 3 million refugees.
Only 3 million refugees.
Wow,
And that's
so a lot of them
mainly
are, like, let's just chill.
women and children, right? So a lot of the men are still
Wow. Okay.
inside of Ukraine. Yeah, they can't leave, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You can't leave. So, I mean,
So you have to
if you're
fight.
stuck in that situation, is what. But remember that thing I sent you? Like some people are shooting themselves in the leg so that they don't have to like deal with the battle.
Was it Russians?
No, Ukrainians.
I thought I said Russians.
I thought it was Ukrainians
No, it was Russian soldiers.
shooting themselves.
Yeah.
All right, well, whatever. One
I
side.
thought it was Russian soldiers. You sent that, right?
Yeah.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
To me or to the group?
No, to you. Pauses.
It says here Russian soldiers in Ukraine are reportedly shooting themselves in the leg so they can go home.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind then. So, well, then the flip side of that is like you can see that there is some dissension amongst the Russians.
There's a lot
well,
of
what is the likelihood of this going to World War III?
Yeah.
You know, if they're really not into it.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on inside of Russia. Like, you can't, any little bit of protest, they're arresting you.
Yeah, totally. And
There was somebody on, it was like on their national news, someone,
oh yeah, I saw that too. They
Yeah.
protested and they jumped in with like the sign.
yeah, with the sign. She worked for them, right?
Oh no way! Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. She was like a journalist or something.
Oh, that's crazy.
So she was put that sign up, and then now she's
Banned.
missing.
Oh, okay. That's kind of freaky. But you know, it's like people there, they know what the problem. I read that bio of Vladimir Putin, right? And that it wasn't written by him; it was written by a reporter.
Yeah.
And you know, she was Russian, and she knew that putting this bio out would get her like in trouble with the Russians. And yeah, she's like fearing for her life. But there are people there that.
But she's in Russia, or she was.
I think
she's
she
outside
moved
of-
out.
Yeah.
She was there. She was there, and then she left.
Okay. Then she wrote it after she left.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
a
okay.
bio book.
Mm-hmm.
She might be back. I don't know, but like they wrote. She like talks about her story in the end of the book. I was more interested in the Putin part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, if you like look at it, there are a lot of people that are not into this. So it's like it was different back in the day with Hitler because there was a lot of nationalism, right? And there wasn't social media.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, there was no internet or social media.
Yeah, so
at
it's
the
like
time.
whatever they were seeing was manufactured,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of this is pretty interesting. Mark Zuckerberg, I finished the podcast with him and Lex, and he was saying that in a study they found that the most polarized people are actually people who don't use the internet, don't use social media. And I was like, that makes no sense because a lot of people, he's like, no, the studies that people are doing are like misreported. And I was like, are you just saying this because you are pitching social media? But then if you really think about it, he's actually correct. Logically, right? He said the most polarized people are the people that are not on social media because they've already set themselves into that thing.
Okay.
When you're on social media, you have dissenting opinions. So you can start to question things.
Yeah.
Right? Which makes sense. Like if you're in like rural whatever, like just like the Nazi thing, right? You're gonna believe.
I see what
everyone
he's saying.
else
I see what he's
believes,
saying. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I like studies are studies, right? Like who's funding the study or whatever. But like that's the first time I heard somebody say that, and I was like, Yeah, why do we all think that social media is so bad? Actually, even the climate change book that I just finished, she wrote about how social media is really good because at least allows us to have the conversation about climate change. And I was like, yeah, finally somebody's not hating on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like one thing Zuckerberg said was like,
There's good and bad. I feel like you
totally.
can have groups of in either kind of
for sure. But what he's saying is a lot of American stuff or like Western stuff is anti social media, right? Like that's why he was like voted the worst, the most hated CEO. And he's like, is that an American survey that you're referencing?
But it's Americans who are using social media, so I don't understand.
No, but like the majority of the world's also using Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, it's declining in the West, but it's still high in like Asia.
Well, are we just talking about Facebook, or are we talking about other
social media? Facebook. We'll talk about Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Instagram, because they also own.
Yeah, he owns. That's a part of it.
Okay.
WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook are all Meta.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like it is true. It's like we're so quick to like. It's almost like the bandwagon right now is to hate on social media, but it's gifted us so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, I enjoy it.
Right? Yeah, same. Or is it just popular opinion to hate on social media? Because we all saw that Netflix documentary. You know what I'm saying? And really, you like question everything at that point because it's why do you believe this? You know?
I don't think most people hate. There's significant people that do.
Oh, no, but it's like popular opinion right now. It's like, oh, all our kids are being messed up by social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you have to jump on that bandwagon, right?
Sure, yeah. But the ones that would be the kids using social media, though, so they wouldn't be.
Well, they're too young to. Like, we don't validate their voice.
Right.
He did say, though, that, because what they do, so this is pretty much, I didn't know this, in Facebook, they have, they encourage dissension because that encourages more ideas, right? So he's like, the problem with that though is that's why there's like a lot of leaks about like these whistleblowers in Facebook. It's like they're not really whistleblowers; they're paid to look into that. They're paid to dissent on an opinion. They have to give him the bad information, right? In order for him to make, he's like, I can't just have good information all the time. So you have to have people on payroll who are like against you as well.
Right.
But then if those people, like they leak it, then it becomes like a big thing. It's like Facebook's trying to cover this up. It's like, we're not. We wanted that information. But now it's like, what are we going to do about this information?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that, he said that there was a study that was done about young girls. And you know how everyone's like, oh, it like affects them negatively. He said that, no, like a bunch of the girls were actually like, it helped me with my self-esteem. You know?
Yeah.
But like, it sounds weird because like the narrative has been like, it destroys your self-esteem. But like, what about the people who like feel great by using social media?
Yeah. Well, I mean, both sides have their studies, right? To show.
I know, that's why
their
it's
point.
Like,
so it's like, but this is coming from his own mouth. So like.
Oh, right, totally. Well, and he had to defend himself.
He has to defend himself
in front of Congress recently, right? So he has all the talking points ready. So, like, who knows? Maybe he's lying. But
I feel like these things should be like you should know your own kids, like in some way, like have.
What do you mean?
Because if it's affecting kids or positively or negatively, like
that comes down to the kid.
That comes down to how they're being raised as well, right?
I was about to say, yeah, totally. Because like, if they get a negative comment, it's like, why doesn't your parents be like, chill? It's a negative comment. Like, it's who cares? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's how you're raised, right? Yeah. And also, who does polls? Like, really, like that's one thing Joe Rogan always says. I'm like, that's true. Like, who does polls? Like, when have you done a poll? Like, earnestly done a poll. I've done a poll where, like, Blaze Pizza, they give you free dessert if you do the poll.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to crap on your industry because I love your product. So I just put smiley face for all. I didn't even read the question. Just smiley, smiley, right?
Yeah.
I just want that free dessert. So it's like, who's earnestly doing a poll? Who's, like, honestly really trying to give you their best opinion through a poll? Only, like, the people that are criticizing it.
only criticizing it. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like they have a strong enough opinion about it.
Yeah.
But the general majority don't really care. I didn't care. I did it because I want the free dessert, but I didn't really read the question. Like I made sure that like the smiley face was correct. Like I didn't want to like, it's like,
No, I
did
get
you
that.
hate your experience? Smiley face. You're like, well, what? I had to like just make sure everyone else like whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So can't really trust polls. That's the thing, right?
Well, yeah, you can say you can't trust polls, but a lot of the times they're right.
No, totally, yeah. But it's like, but I don't think that's just a poll thing. Like it's strictly polls. Like you're talking about voting.
Yeah, I'm talking about like voting.
Yeah, you're talking about voting.
Yeah.
But that's like a vested interest in a thing. Like I was saying, like that's a vested interest. Like that's something that affects like all of us.
Yeah.
So if you're okay, something that doesn't affect all of us is like social media.
Okay.
It's a part of our lives, but it doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to change anything. But a president will change that. Prime minister will change things. Right? So if you're having a good experience with social media, are you going to say anything? Are you going to be like, wow, I love social media?
Right.
You're not. But if you're having a negative experience, you're like, let me tell this poll how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's different. I know what you're talking about, like with the polling, because they were, but everyone's got a vested interest in that. Like you're just gonna govern me.
Yeah.
But a product is like.
Yeah, these are. I don't know how they do those studies, or if they're studies. Like what kind of.
Yeah, who's like my biggest question is who's funding it, because that's gonna tell you where it's gonna lean.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
But like, why wouldn't like?
No. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to. Let me just circle back on climate change just to finish the thought on that because I thought it was pretty interesting. I don't want to sound doom and gloom, but there's no way we're going to get out of climate change. Like 100%. One thing so I read the book that like analyzes climate change through capitalism.
Okay.
Right. And then I read that other book, Unsettled, which talks about like how the science is lying to you. So I just deleted that book. I was like, I rated that like a 3 because I was like, you can't actually know the science. You can't read that book and be like, yeah, the science is wrong. I'm not a freaking climatologist. Like,
okay.
But the argument he made was like 80% of our world is run by fossil fuels. Okay. And then this new book was about capitalism, and I rated this 5 out of 5. Why? Because she talked about how the oil, like oligarchs, they like you can't make as much money. They're already rich, right?
Yeah.
Off fossil fuel. They figured out a system to make money off fossil fuel. They would have to refigure out a system to make money off of solar.
Yeah.
Right, because you can't have a monopoly on solar wind. You can't have a monopoly on green energy.
Yeah.
Because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, but if you like you're in Saudi Arabia, you own the oil, so you're gonna be rich. You need my oil? Cool. I'm the only one who has access to it. But green energy, it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The access to it is in abundant. Yeah.
Right, and what they said is like it's decentralized. Right, like oil is centralized because it's localized to one area. You have to go to these specific spots, make deals, get the oil.
Yeah.
But it's decentralized because nobody owns sunlight. It's all over the earth, right? So how are you going to make money off it? How are you going to make these oligarchs, these like people with lots of money?
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
So the only people who are going to fight back are the people with lots of money. They're not going to want that to change.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So how are we
It's affecting their livelihood.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are we going to figure out climate change? It's a business problem. Like actually, that's like a question.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how. Like I
It's
see that thing. Bugatti's making an electric car, right? They want all their electric vehicles.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, okay, like that's so. You know what I mean? Like, that a one-off car. I feel like we're getting all hyped over green energy because that's just a one-off car. That's like, how many people own a freaking Bugatti?
Yeah, not many.
Right.
Like probably a handful.
But how many trucks, planes are there?
Yeah.
Right? And even if you completely shifted that over, like you're like, okay, all all vehicles will be EV,
Mm-hmm.
right? The biggest problem with climate change isn't even vehicles. And that's the craziest part about this whole thing. And I learned about this in like that climate change webinar I went to.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, nope, nobody's talking about this. Like, guys, this is the real issue here. It's heating. That's where all the climate change comes from. Because think about office buildings are like apartments, factories. You need some reliable way to consistently provide power to those industries and those like spaces to simply heat things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how are you gonna do that? Solar comes once in a while, so you have to like store the energy and then use it. That makes no sense. Wind also comes once in a while. The only potential, I heard this on the Joe Rogan podcast too. I was like, is nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear is the best.
It is the best,
the most cleanest.
But people are freaked out about that.
Yeah, I know that's.
Like Hiroshima.
But it is the most cleanest. If you're talking about green energy, you should be looking at nuclear.
But nobody talks about that.
Yeah,
because it's like it's got like
it's got a bad stigma around it.
Yeah,
but it's the cleanest.
But do we want to go that route? Because if we mess up hard. Like the Japanese, like the thing with Chernobyl is there were so many like strikes against it.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, this thing's breaking down, whatever. But if you have a nuclear plant and it gets hit by a natural disaster, like Japan, now you're done for. Like there's no way to. I mean, they fixed it, but I was following the story past the. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It was like
Fukushima.
Yeah, a long time ago. The water, they just collected it in barrels, and they're just holding the water, the nuclear tainted water, because they can't do anything about it. So it's like, if you mess up, you mess up hard.
Right.
So which way are we going to go? We're going to go the big benefit, but the big loss, or the status quo of fossil fuel. Solar and wind is not going to cut it. Because it's intermittent. That's the only reason why.
I think it has to be a mix.
Hydro maybe, but like you need a lot of waterfalls.
I feel like it shouldn't be one thing or the other. It should just be a mix of it all. Because it makes sense to me.
Right. But that would take a huge uprooting of society.
I mean, mixing of it all.
Yeah, because how would you regenerate?
No, these are like gradual things that are already happening.
These are gradual, but we have a deadline of 2035.
Yeah,
or
that's
net zero by 2050.
I wonder if that's symbolic.
Right, totally. I agree with you. But at the same time, it's like they're threatening that if we don't fix this quick, world's going to end because of climate change.
Yeah, but even though you have that 35 as a symbolic thing, it's not going to be feasible. It's not
that's
gonna.
That's what I mean.
That's what I meant. Is like these ideas are symbolic. We want to reach it, but is it going to happen in reality?
Yeah, totally.
I don't think so.
It's like the goalposts we want to get to, but it's the touchdown we want. But it's like, can you make it there?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's just a lot of platitudes. Actually, one thing they said.
I mean, like, see, this is the thing. Like, I mean, that thing was only about electric vehicles. It's not about other stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. So
exactly, they're not attacking.
So there's already a thing right in there. Yeah.
And that's my problem with them. Like, this is a shell
they're
game.
Only talking about electric vehicles.
Totally.
Not talking about other energy sources. No, because you can't do that.
Because you cannot. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And one thing that they said in the book, and I was like, this is so funny. They're like, companies spend more money on Earth Day promotion than they do fixing their company so that it's Earth Day compliant. And I was like, that's 100% true.
That makes sense.
Like, yeah, like literally being like just looking at it as a business case and actually working for them. Like, yeah, there's no, because the problem is nobody knows what either they don't want to look at the issue, what the problem is, or they don't know what it is.
Or it's just too much to change. It's just too much to like Earth Day stuff. It's just more easier to do PR.
Yeah, totally.
than to actually do the change.
Right. So, but it's like
it's too much money.
It's like
it's more money than spending on PR.
Totally, it is. Yeah. So it's like, so why even So, like, my question is either you're dumb or you're a liar. Like, either you don't actually know what this thing actually is that you're fighting for is, or you're just a liar that you're like doing that thing of like, let me just stand for something because that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. I mean, they might be doing like little changes, but I just don't think it's like. It's not like drastic stuff. These will take long time, gradual, like.
Yeah, totally.
Gradual, very slow, gradual changes, but it's also like what the laws are to be too, right? So, if the thing is about electric vehicles, it's not about other things, right? It's not about heating your home and stuff.
I think maybe the 2050 might be. I think that's what net zero by 2050 means. But the one. But isn't
it? Yeah, sure, the 2050, but isn't it like the
It's arbitrary. Net zero just means like no more emissions.
Right. No, I understand.
What the hell does that mean, bro?
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm saying like, isn't it like the world's going to end in the next 10 years, right? So it's like 2050, but we're talking
the 2040 thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I sent you. Yeah. That was the math computer at MIT. It projected that the world will end in 2040.
No, I'm saying like the more drastic stuff we're going to see in climate change stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Versus our goal is 2050.
But they didn't they didn't hit the things though. Like a lot of the predictions around climate change didn't actually happen.
So I don't know what their predictions are.
Like Miami would be underwater. It's not underwater. You know. So
what did they say when by? Or
I think it's like coming up, but it's not even close. Or it already passed. Like remember we used to watch those climate change.
Yeah, what was his name?
You remember what I'm talking about, right? He used to
Al
show
Gore
me them.
Stuff. The Al Gore Inconvenient
he
Truth.
Sparked it. Yeah,
he did
exactly.
that. Yeah.
That's what the book Unsettled was about. How like a lot of the predictions didn't come true, and that's why a lot of people are like climate change deniers because it's like the science was wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what was it predictions like to the date or like projections of what may come.
Totally.
Do they use the word may? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But that's like also like the weatherman, right?
Yeah.
You can't predict accurately the weather.
Yeah, there's like what do you call like a percentage chance, right? You know how they always say like there's a 50% chance of rain. So just predict and model saying it's 50% chance. So maybe, or it can, or may not. So it's like it's 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have like higher percentage, 80%, so okay, you have a higher probability that it's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So is it like that? Is it?
Well,
is climate change stuff, or it's like Miami's going to be gone? Is that a 50% chance, or was it like a 10% chance that's going to happen at this time?
Right. But also think about when the Al Gore thing came out. They didn't have sophisticated algorithms like they do now. So you saying like 80%, it's like, yeah, that's using a sophisticated algorithm of our time with more data.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, did your climate change projection change? But you
I wonder if they changed as more
but it wasn't as
science
popular.
Or better science.
Totally, but it wasn't as popular, right? Like the whole Al Gore Inconvenient Truth thing freaked us all out.
Sure.
And then now it's like, did you update that because you have better mathematics now? You know,
but that's the thing with science. Science keeps getting better or more precise. Let's say, like if with more knowledge, right?
And that's what Unsettled's about. He's like, it's quickly becoming more of like an ideology.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Right? And he was saying what we need to bring it back to, which is, again, is correct. He's not a climate change denier. What he's saying is like, we need to bring it back to like actual science.
Yeah.
Like, and people are like, oh, what do you mean science? It's like, no, there's an agenda, right, to everyone's thing. Just like, let's remove all agendas and let's just look at this because it's a world problem. Like, what is the real situation?
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's the problem with humans. We like a story.
And we rely on business. That's the other thing too, because in the book, The Capitalist, it's called This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein. What she said is two things really stuck out to me. So first is that a bunch of patents got released on climate change related products.
Okay.
So it means that there's money to be made, right?
Okay.
So it's like, if a bunch of climate change products got released, that means that somebody's trying to capitalize on this idea of climate change. And the second thing she said, which also Unsettled talked about, and we talked about it as well, is that climate change could be the vehicle to continue American power going forward.
Okay.
Because if we're like, hey, we got to focus on climate change, that means every other country has to stop their progression via fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we're like, but third world countries are finally getting to that point where they're able to, level up their situation.
Yeah.
But they're using fossil fuels. So if you all of a sudden tell those countries like, hey, you can't use fossil fuels anymore, they have to start from zero again.
Mm-hmm.
And then that keeps the wealthy wealthy and the poor poor.
Yeah. Just talking about fossil fuels or crude oil and things. I think this is true because they can't sell it to other countries. Russian oil.
Okay.
Some other countries that are abiding by the sanctions. I think they were selling it for cheap, and India said, "Yeah, we'll buy it."
Smart move. Well,
Well, we're looking out for ourselves, or for themselves. Yeah.
But like,
makes sense.
It's economics. We're talking about business all over again. Yeah. But you know what's funny? When you paint something through the lens of like patriotism, just to go back to that, it's like, oh, aren't you patriotic? Don't you care about your country? Mm-hmm. Right? If you said it like that, it's like, ooh, it tugs at your heartstrings a bit more. What if you said, don't you care about a business that wants to make money? Mm-hmm. You'd be like, wait, what? No, what? No, I don't care more about me. But it's like, what story are you telling? Because at the end of the day, countries are run like businesses. Mm-hmm. But nobody's looking at it like that. And because nobody's looking at it like that, they're thinking about things like patriotism.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but it's not your land.
Mm-hmm.
You're still paying taxes, right? So like you're still paying a higher body than you just to be on their land. So what do you mean it's your land?
Right.
Well, one of the people that they interviewed on that thing was like, oh, I grew up on this street. I'm like, you're just attaching too heavily to nostalgia, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I would feel that too. I'd feel sad, but at the same time, it's like it's the way the world changes all the time. Just read some books.
But that's what they want to do, right? Which is what they want to do.
The people, or you mean the people capitalizing on their naivety?
I mean, people wanting to fight.
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
their choice.
You want to do what you want to do. But like, was that a sentient decision, or was that a knee-jerk reaction decision? Like, was that a reaction, or was that like a conscious choice? Like, oh no, they're fighting for us. Oh, let me run over there. Or were you like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Well, it's a choice that he decided to go there to fight for his.
It is a choice either way. I'm saying, is it conscious or is it reactive?
Well, I wouldn't know.
No,
that would
know. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
know that.
If you're making a conscious choice, all power to you. If you're like, it's run like a business, but I still understand that nostalgia wins, I'm going to go fight for it. Totally cool. But if you're run by reactionary states, mm-hmm. like who's choosing at that point?
Yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We'll never know because, that's their decision. That's their internal dialogue going. Mm-hmm. Okay, actually, which brings me perfectly to Sadhguru. So what do you know about him?
I don't know too much about him. I've seen him in like other interviews that I've watched. Like, okay. Not just him specifically in like debates. That's all.
Like I don't really. He's debated or he's being debated?
No, it's just a panel.
Okay.
Of like he was on the panel as well.
Okay, providing his opinion.
Yeah, but it was like a long time ago, but different kind of stuff, like political things.
Okay. He's been doing this for a while. He has this new nonprofit thing about like soil and like how we need to create more like sustainable soil.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't have what he's doing right now and all this things. I don't know about that stuff.
But you've heard of him as a public.
I've heard of him for like that. I knew him for a long time, but like in a different being as a guest on debates and things like that.
Okay, cool. So he's doing this whole nonprofit thing right now where he wants to change the structure of soil and it makes sense. I won't go into it, but like just watch the Joe Rogan podcast episode. It's excellent. Mm-hmm. It's what really intrigued me about him. I'm like, oh, this guy knows a lot, right? He's very knowledgeable in what he's talking about in terms of spirituality and like, and in terms of like soils. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you know him as like a guest, as like a thinker, sure. Philosopher, right?
Yeah.
When I was like, Arvel, you need to listen to him. And he's like, oh, it's the internet engineering guy. I'm like, okay, so this guy's been going around for a while. So the thing I like about books is that you really get into a person's psyche,
Mm-hmm.
right? Remember we talked about this, like David Goggins. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, David
Oh
Goggins.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're like, oh, he's so motivational. And you read the book, you're like, oh, this is actually super dark. Like you're motivated by like some really dark things, you know?
Yeah.
Because the thing about a book is like, when you're on a podcast or you're on an episode or like a panel or something, you kind of have an idea of where you're gonna go, and you can manufacture it, right? But the thing about a book is you had to write that down, you had to edit it, you had to re-edit it. Your editor had to be like, you sure you want to put this in here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like a lot going through. So like whatever book you put out, that's not like off the cuff.
Okay.
So that's why I like books, because it's like, oh, this is how you really think.
It has to be thought out.
You have to, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
The book that we did, right? Like it went through like so many revisions and like whatever. The book that I was part of.
Okay.
And then seeing that inner working, I'm like, dude, a lot goes into a book, right? So whatever you choose to put in a book, it means you really wanted that to get out. Okay. So I read his most recent book about death, and I was like, okay, cool. This is gonna be like interesting. I didn't read that inner engineering one. Like death to me is fascinating, so I read it. This guy's like so not what he is. He is extremely knowledgeable. Like, so basically in the book, he throws around like a lot of yogic terms. And like, if you haven't studied yoga or like done a YTT course, you're going to be so lost. But you're going to think he's impressive. He's talking about like, oh, you know, in like, oh, you're Anamaya Kosha body. You're like Ujas, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, yeah, it's like, if you're new to it, you're going to be so astounded, right? But if you're not new to it, you're like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, why are you filling people with this like, why are you bedazzling them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why if you read people like Osho, there's no bedazzling. He doesn't use big words. He's like extremely, like, he even says like, if you use big words, you're hiding something. And you can tell that this guy's hiding something. And I was so turned off by the book. The beginning was like, okay, there were some gems, but then by the end, he started talking about like rituals for how to bury people and why that's important, and past lives. He remembers his past lives.
Wasn't he on the Logan Paul's podcast too?
He was?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Okay, maybe he's just trying to like do the rounds right now to like get his nonprofit thing out.
Maybe.
But like he talks a good game on the podcast. That's why I was like, oh, this guy's really intriguing me. But there's a difference between like knowledge plus experience, right? I mean, like knowledge and experience. So he's got the knowledge, but from the way he writes and the things he's talking about, I'm like, you don't have the experience of what you're talking about. Meaning you haven't gone there.
Yeah.
So one thing he also said, he's like, death is actually quite pleasant. Trust me, I know. I'm like, you didn't die. How are you gonna write that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a tell to me, to be like, you're trying to bedazzle someone here.
Yeah.
And then the other part of the book is like just about his past lives and like who he was, and like how you can take spirits from different realms and put them into different people's bodies.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks super incredulous.
No,
like,
I already had issues with him based on the talks. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
Based on those debates, it was more like other political things and stuff like that, and even
he actually got into that on the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan was trying to get him to talk about like energetic transmission. He was talking about how like there are these places on Earth that have like are spiritual epicenters, and he was sick, and then he went to the spiritual epicenter, and his like sickness went away. And Joe Rogan's like, was it rest though? You know? And then he's like, no, I was able to channel the energy of the Earth. But I just disregarded that. I was like, okay, maybe you didn't expand fully on that, so I'm just not going to, like, maybe you mean something different.
Yeah.
Right? But like, again, when you read the book, you thought that out.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I going to tell the world? And when I read it, I was like, you're lying. This is like straight up lies. You know, he's talking about ghosts.
Right.
Like, really? How you know?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of that. people follow people just because they're talking about stuff that you don't understand.
Exactly.
And then
and one thing he said, like Joe Rogan's like, why do people follow you? And he's like, because it works, right? And Joe Rogan's like, what works? And he's like, meditation. I'm like, yeah, meditation does work.
yeah,
But let's leave it at that.
he didn't create meditation.
Exactly. So all the other fluff around it is what's guiding people in your direction.
Yeah.
Like, why are you using these crazy big words? But if you just like, not crazy big, but like esoteric words, you don't need all that. If you really know what you're talking about, you can, what was that line where it's like, there's two ways to say this. Either if you can explain it to a child, you know what you're talking about. Or if you can write it on the back of a business card, you know what you're talking about. You have to be able to distill an idea super simply.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And that's what Osho does. That's why I'm like, for all the negativity when we saw like Wild Wild Country, it's like, although technically that was more about the girl than Osho. Like he did some crazy stuff in it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, yeah.
Right. But
that was very interesting.
no, it's super interesting. Like, you can't delete that from his history. But like I'm saying, if you read Osho's books, you're like, no, you know what you're talking about, bro. Because all Osho ever does is show you that whatever it is but this is a Zen thing though. And Osho means student in Zen. Like I think like introductory student or something.
Right.
And the people are like, why didn't you just call yourself master? But it's like, no, he's a student for life. I totally get where you're coming from. So like if you read his books, it's all about how you don't need any of these big words. Like you're just confusing your mind in order to like fill it. Like your mind is so insecure that you're filling it with things that seem grandiose because it can't get over the fact that it's
that's
so
the
simple.
problem that I have. That's the problem with this is a form of religion too. It's like,
and Sadhguru is like, oh, there's no religion. I'm like, dude, you're turning yourself into one.
Yeah.
Indirectly. He also said, I haven't read any spiritual texts, like none of the ancient texts. And Joe's like, what, you haven't read any of them? He's like, no, there's no point because I'm all about direct experience. But I was like, okay, that's interesting to me because you can achieve those things without reading text. You know, like Buddha was a prince, so he was educated, but like he had his own direct experience. So I was intrigued to be like, maybe you did learn something on your own, you know, that you didn't need other people's help with.
Right.
But reading the book, I'm like, you're making stuff up, bro. You know? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Even Arvel's like, oh, look at you debunking stuff. And I'm like, no, I just read it. Who reads it? You know what I mean? It's like if you just watch his 10-second clips, of course you're going to be like, dude, this guy knows what he's talking about. But it's a 10-second clip.
Yeah.
But if you like really read into his stuff, you're like, this doesn't sound right. It can sound right if you don't read about science as well, which is what I like to do. I like to read like science.
Yeah,
books,
I've
'cause
seen
like,
different
what?
things of him. I've always had an issue with him.
There's something odd. But
yeah,
like,
I remember I think my brother brought it up. Was it last week? I guess you were like going in, or watching the podcast or putting those clips up, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this guy.
Okay.
Already based on my past experience.
No, totally. Right. I don't like gurus either. Like that's my initial thing. I'm like, but
they can say things that could be true, but then also as a person who they are.
Yeah, who you are, you know,
and like how you're trying to portray yourself. Like you can tell, like there's something off.
Okay,
about that.
Let me jump into Osho now. Because I was thinking about this a lot. So you're like, oh, your actions aren't meeting your words, right? Which is true. If your actions, if you speak a good game, but you're not following through on it with your actions, then there's a disconnect and you're lying about something, right? So I don't think Osho was lying about anything. So I think what Osho was doing is he really did see that life was so ridiculous. That he's like, wow, all these rich and powerful people are around me. I wonder if they can give me money. Yeah. Oh, wow, they're giving me money. Oh, can you give me a car? Bro, you can give me a car? Oh, you can give me a Rolex? Bro, what else can you give me? See, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's just playing his own video game.
I think he was. I think it does feel like that. I mean, why would you have 14 Rolls Royces?
Yeah, he's
Makes
just
sense.
But I don't think, because if you read the book, that's what it is. He's just not attached to it. I think if you took away those Rolls Royces, he'd be like, okay, but you gave it to me. I think he was just playing with his reality.
You know, I feel like that just reminds me of like a little bit of the Tinder swindler. Like he's just...
This is a video game.
It's a video game to him. Yeah.
But that is what the epitome of all spiritual text is. It's not real. This world that we live in it's ashes, meaning that if you burned it, it would just go to ash. Right? Yeah. It's not real.
Right.
We just in our mind, like it goes back to the patriotism too, the landlines. It's like these things aren't real. You're just telling yourself they're real because your mind is doing it. And Osho always said the biggest sickness is your mind, because it can fool you into thinking it's real. It's like the devil. Yeah. The biggest devil is our mind, right? What was the line in Christianity? It's like the devil's greatest gift is making you think that he didn't exist. But that's a mind thing. Your mind doesn't make you. The mind makes you think it's the whole universe, right? And it's like
he just lived. You know what? What's the best way to live my life?
Yeah,
like, that's what he was doing, bro. That's what it seems like.
I really think that. I really think that. You know, and one other thing that I was thinking about too is how he would always. I think Osho actually died of an overdose. What was it in the documentary?
I don't remember.
Remember he was getting that doctor to like drug him every night so he could sleep, and I think he took too much, and that's how he died.
Is that how he died?
I think so. It was in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Because he died in the documentary, didn't he? Or maybe I read that.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he died in the documentary. As you look it up, because I have an answer for this too. Okay.
He said he died of heart failure.
Oh yeah, but yeah, right.
Okay.
Because as he was getting these like because he was getting more and more sick, so he would need the doctor to sedate him in order to sleep.
Maybe yeah.
Okay. So okay, what is the thing about sedation? Right? It's your internal world. So why was Osho drugging himself every night? Because he was having so much fun in the outer world. He's like, let me see how much fun I can have in the inner world. Right? When people take drugs, there's a difference in reality, right? You're not sober anymore. Like things change, and I think that's what he was doing. He was just playing with his external and internal world.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I was really thinking about it. I was like, Osho knew what he's talking about. Like real sages know sages, and when you read it, you're like, you know what you're talking about, bro. So why are you acting this way? But I think he's like, yeah, I know so much. That's why I'm having fun with it. And I think he's just playing the video game.
Yeah.
Right? That
makes sense. Yeah. I think if you know, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. He's like, these people are going to give me cars? He paid for nothing. Paid for nothing. All he did was he just told them about reality. He created a village. Yeah.
He created a village.
All he did was just tell them about reality. That was it. He was like, you have a mind, and that mind can be snuffed out by doing these things. And people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he's like, oh, man, I really need a car. And they're like, well, I'm rich. I'm like, oh, could you give me some of your money? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the folly of cult leaders, right? They just get to a point where they're just like, let me just play the game. Let's see how far I can go.
Yeah, I think it seems like a lot of those cult leaders understand
human nature,
and people, and they just know what to say to make things work their way.
Because they're just gaming the system.
Yeah, exactly.
They're playing a game.
Yeah.
And then the people who get caught up are the ones who are like too invested in the story. You know what I mean? Or like it's cognitive dissonance. It's our own minds being like, it's like when you buy a product that's expensive. So cognitive dissonance, business terms, is if you buy a product that's expensive and there's a defect with it, you're going to tell yourself that defect's not there because you spent a lot of money on it. Right. We rationalize our behaviors. Yeah. Right. So I think that a lot of people who see what's going on, they just had cognitive dissonance towards him. Right. Whereas if you actually took the lessons to heart, you'd be like, oh, bro, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Which was the point. He was like, you don't need me. He kept saying, you don't need a god. You don't need a guru. So why are you here? And then that just made people want to be around him more. And it's like, oh my God, these people are crazy, bro. So maybe that's why
it goes back to, it reminds me of the other one, right? What was that guy that fake being a guru?
Kumari.
Yeah, and it was the end lesson that you don't need a guru.
Yeah, exactly.
But they still wanted.
But they still wanted to believe, at the end.
See,
yeah.
so it's like.
So if you don't know what you're talking about, it's this funny documentary where this guy pretended to be a guru. He got a bunch of followers, but he was working for Vice.
Yeah.
Was he working for Vice? Or he worked for Vice later.
Voice later, yeah.
So like, and then he told them at the end, like, oh guys, I just made all that up. And a lot of people, some of them were pissed, and then others were like, no, he's lying to me still. Like, it's not real. Like, you're actually the real guru.
Yeah, like,
Because they
some
don't
people
want
took it
to.
as a great lesson, and then other people were like, they were
Mad.
They were mad. They were upset because they actually wanted a guru.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they wanted that attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it tells you.
And it's like, that's how you have to be. Like, you told me this, and I was like, this is a great story. Alexander the Great never had a teacher, or it was a master.
I don't remember.
No, maybe I'm mixing up. Oh no, you're talking about him meeting the guru.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a different story. Yeah, he's like, why are you? Okay, well, that story's cool too. I'll just say it. So Alexander the Great was like, oh, why are you just sitting out here? What are you doing? And the guru's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm conquering the world. And they both like laughed at each other because like at the end, is that the story you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay, and at the end, like they just laughed at one another, thought they were both silly because it's like,
yeah, because
achieving your own goals.
Yeah, the point was one guy or Alexander's looking at him like he's doing nothing.
Yeah.
While the other guy's looking at him
like why he's out?
At the end of it, he's doing nothing. Right? They're both doing nothing.
Right, because you're gonna die anyways.
Yeah. That's
sure.
what. But like the end result, but his perspective was, well, we have to do something when we're alive, so we have to conquer. So it's like
right.
That was his goal.
But that's why it goes back to like life is a story you tell yourself. It's like whatever you want to believe, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you want to believe. The thing I was actually thinking of is Alexander the Great never had a master because then you're limited by their shortcomings.
Who said that?
I don't know. Maybe it was like a different.
But he had a
person.
teacher though.
No, he had a teacher, not a master. Difference.
Okay.
Like a teacher is like, I will guide you. A master is like, whatever you say goes. You know what I mean? Like master.
Well, he was the leader, right? Wasn't?
Yeah, but you still have masters. It's like, no, master like, it's like a martial arts thing. Like, I can have a master in martial arts, and whatever they say goes forever, because out of respect to them.
Yeah. So I don't see how a teacher wouldn't be that. Couldn't be that.
It's a different. No, they can be, but you can have multiple teachers, just don't have any masters. Do you get the differentiation?
No, I get that, but you're still you could be influenced from the teachers.
No, of course, but a master is like, it's like out of respect to you, I will. All right, let's go with my Arnie's teacher. This makes the most sense to me.
Okay.
So like the way he taught it, if I have respect for my master, I will continue that tradition.
Okay.
And not deviate from it.
I got you.
Because that's your tradition.
Okay.
I'm passing on your tradition.
Yeah.
However, I have no master. Me personally, I have no masters. I only have teachers. So my Arnie's teacher, I've taken lessons and I've changed it because I'm like, this wouldn't work.
I got you.
Right. So it's important to have teachers, but no master, because then you're limited by their shortcoming.
Yeah.
Because even if like if I was
okay, that makes sense.
Right.
I understand.
And I'm like, oh, your move is incorrect.
Yeah.
But I'm going to teach you this way forever.
Yeah.
Only because.
Okay.
And then it's like now I have a shortfall.
Yeah. I will agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard that. Yeah. And that's why Alexander the Great was so good, because he just kept evolving. He's like, okay, on to the next one. Cool. Thank you for the lessons. Let's move forward. And I think that's what, you have to do in life.
Right.
That's actually a really great place to end it. But I wanted to bring up Sadhguru's one other thing.
Okay.
Where he said, so this is that's why I'm like, this is why I know, this is why one, it's dangerous to talk like this, and two, like, you don't know what you're talking about. So he said that suicide, a person who's suicidal, right?
Yeah.
And a yogi are exactly the same. Because the person who is suicidal and the yogi both want to kill themselves, but they don't want to kill the body. They just want to kill themselves. So if you read that, that's all he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's so dangerous because you didn't qualify it, right? I get what you're saying because I've done a lot of study into this. So what he means is like, when your suicidal ideations are like you want to kill yourself, just like a yogi, you want to kill your identity. You don't actually want to harm the body.
Yeah.
You just want to stop being who you are. But he didn't write it like that. And I was like, that's dangerous, bro. Because now people are just going to think what yogis are suicidal, or there's some honor in being suicidal.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, you need to qualify that. And that's when I was like, okay, you're not as good as you think you are. Because you would have, like, he was more trying to bedazzle you with that statement.
Yeah.
I read it, I was like, oh, that's shocking.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, yeah, the bedazzlement was there. But it's like, I'm not falling for this trick. Let me decode it. Right? But how many people are decoding it?
Yeah.
Right. Osho never does that to you. That's why I like Osho. Straight to the point. Yeah.
It's funny because they're both from India. So you can have, this is what I mean by like, you can have all sorts of philosophies or the way, what you want to do with your life, right? And that's why you gotta, I mean, that's why it comes from a lot of these. This Osho's from India. This guy's from India. There's a whole bunch of different types of gurus and stuff that come from India that could be very beneficial. It could be very detrimental.
Very true. Yeah, very true. And I think what separates Osho from Sadhguru, aside from like the experience, which is like, you know, you could tell, Osho also does lots of reading, so he's not limited in his, like, whereas Sadhguru's like, I haven't read any ancient texts. It's like,
well, at least he's being honest about that.
Right, but it's like,
but it tells you that's not a good thing.
Right, if you decode it. Whereas other people are like, wow, he's beyond. Exactly. Right, and then it's like,
that's falling into the, exactly as you said, bedazzlement. Yeah, that's it's creating mythological stories.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think I brought this up before. In terms of like Kendrick Lamar versus J. Cole, I was like, I like J. Cole more as a philosopher because he reads, whereas Kendrick is like, I don't read any books. And it's like, yeah, but you're also not a guru, right? Kendrick's just making good music, like very conscious rap.
Yeah.
But like, if you actually start becoming like a preacher, you need to educate yourself under what's going on in this world. Because like, if you think your experience is the be all end all, just like Sadhguru, I haven't read any books. I haven't read any spiritual books. It's like, how do you know if you're doing wrong? How do you know it hasn't already been said before?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Oh, actually, all right, wait, sorry, one last thing. It's always, it's funny, the people that become really great at something had some sort of issue with it in the beginning. Okay, so for me, I've always been preoccupied by death, right? That's why I'm so obsessed with reading about like spirituality, all this, like what is the nature of reality? Because like, where are we going to go when we die? Like, trying to answer that question. So Sadhguru was talking about his childhood to Joe on the podcast, and he was saying from an early age, he wasn't talking because he was confused about the nature of reality. So like, he would just stare at a rock and he's like, why is this rock here? What's making up this rock? And I'm like, that just sounds like a person that's like, too many thoughts in your head. You know what I mean? And like, now you've just like, you've done it for so long.
I feel like he's generating a mythology here. This is not real.
Exactly what I'm saying. If you read, I haven't read it yet, but like, I watched a bit of the documentary on Netflix and I was like, I can't read this book. The Autobiography of a Yogi.
I don't know.
It's like one of the first yogic texts that came to the West, like, that was translated. So it's about this guru person, and if you watch the documentary on Netflix about it, so it opens with, he was awake in his mother's womb and he knew what was going on. I'm like, bro, your receptors haven't even been there yet. Your prefrontal cortex hasn't been developed. Like you said, you're creating a mythology.
Yes.
So he's like, when I was a kid, I didn't say anything. So, and then my teachers were like, what is wrong with you? You have the devil inside of you. And he was like, oh, what is this devil? Whoa, what am I? Where am I in the universe? I'm like, totally, yes. Like, it's interesting that you had some psychological, question going on that pushed you forward. But like, are we just following people with issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always like some grand story behind everything, and you look at it and you're like, oh, there's just an issue here that you didn't get over. Like Buddha, right? He was afraid of death.
Yeah, I mean,
he
he had a traumatic.
He had traumatic. Yeah,
he was a trauma patient.
he has PTSD, so he had to figure out a way outside of, you know, his suffering until he realized, oh, it's only my mind that suffers. So if I can eradicate the mind, I'm not suffering. You know?
Yeah.
But these great people had to have been faced with a problem. It's like, you know, like the Theranos girl. She's afraid of blood pricking, like needles. So her obsession was to figure out how to make, you know, a machine that could use only a drop of blood.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's like there's always a precipitating issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You gotta stay. What do you call it? Like, you gotta stay vigilant in your. Like, you can't just take everything at face value.
You can't. No, you should be at least doing more. I mean, yeah, it's very human to fall for people, right? Like, fall for leaders like this.
Yeah.
Thinking they're so much better than you.
You create a story around who they are. I think you create a mythology around
you're creating a mythology. That's what this is. And, I mean, mythology is strong.
Pathology?
No,
no, pathology is strong. Or you meant mythology?
Like, no, I mean saying like mythology is strong because it still exists today.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's still influential on a lot of people, and I don't know how to.
Yeah. Pathology is strong too, though. Pathology just means like you have an issue, like a mental issue.
Right, yeah.
Which is true. Like, that's what Buddha, he had a pathology.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought you said. But yeah, mythology. Yes.
I'm saying about mythology, being that it's still here today.
Yeah, totally.
That we still fall for these things.
For sure.
Still.
I listened to Kevin Hart on the Hot Boxing podcast with Mike Tyson, and he even admitted, he's like, I never met Michael Jackson in real life, so to me he's still a myth. Like, he died, so he'll always be a myth to me. I never got to see him as a person.
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's the thing, we have to remember everyone's a person.
Yeah. Everyone's just human.
You had like some life experience. Like, there's no divine gift from God here. That, I mean, we all have different talents. This is true.
Yeah, those are different things, but no one's like this mythological creature that these. No,
I was awake in the womb.
Yeah,
and, you know, it's like, really.
This is
science. That science would tell you that's not real. Like, or are they pseudo memories? Because that's another thing as well.
Yeah, but like, why is he saying that?
Because he wants to like be special.
Yeah.
Compared to everyone else.
Right.
Were you awake in the womb, bro? I knew what was going on.
I can make that up. Yeah, I was.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if you tell yourself a lie, you could believe it, right? So it's like, if you asked me that, I'd be like, yeah, I was. I remember everything as well.
And we're saying things like you were saying his childhood stuff. I don't remember what I did in my childhood.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
How was he gonna remember this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It seems like a mythological story.
Yeah. Beware the myths.
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
All right. That's a good one. All right. I want to end it off on something happy, but what happened this week? Something cool. Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah, Gran Turismo.
All right. Talk about that. Go ahead.
It's the best game for driving right now.
Oh, okay. I think you're the best game period. I'm like, damn, bro. God of War. What happened?
I mean, they're all in their categories. They're really good. So as a driving game, I feel like this is a really fun. I think for people like for me, I haven't done any driving games in a long time, and it's more like gradually getting back into it, teaching you how to, drive on a like a racetrack. So,
Kaz, the inventor of this, he's an actual Formula One driver.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I rewatched. I didn't finish it, but I was watching Kaz again, pushing the virtual divide.
I didn't know he was. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why they said that Gran Turismo was so good, because like the actual driving in the game is very realistic, because he is a race car driver.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's really good.
You know what would be really sick if you got like the pedal and the wheel.
Early on, I was looking.
Oh, really? Eh? Dude, that'd be so
No,
sick.
I was looking at. There's like full setups.
No, I know. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Full setups
Yeah.
you could buy
Yeah,
with.
yeah, you can buy them. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole chair.
Yep. Yeah.
You
I've seen
got the
them.
pedals. You can have 3 pedals or 2, right? So I guess 3 would be with
By shifting.
and you can buy a shifter.
Yeah.
And steering wheel. All these like together, it's like you could probably spend about over $5,000.
Oh, that's too much money. But like,
I'm saying if you're wanting to buy the best setup.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was really cool.
I think
I was thinking of
wheel.
that.
Yeah, just get a wheel and friggin' the gas pedals. Because imagine like on the turns, you feel like the friction of the car. That'd be so sick.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, I would have to get a good steering or a steering wheel that at least has some form of like
Resistance,
or like
haptic touch,
the haptic thing. And I don't know if that's
out yet. Eh?
I don't know if that's out there. I think there are some that do have it, but I don't know if it's compatible with the PS5. But like, I do like the PS5 controller as it has some of those haptic things.
Yeah.
But yeah, a steering wheel would be cool.
You know, it'd be really sick too if you had the VR headset as well.
I was thinking that. So I think if they do these updates or upgrades later on when the new VR2 comes out,
yeah,
that would be cool with a driving wheel. Because then you're like,
would you buy that?
I don't know. Maybe.
Dude, I'm gonna like walk in and you're just gonna have a headset on. I'm like, where did this go? You're in a world, bro. Could you imagine that? That'd be so crazy. You have the steering wheel in front of you and like the VR headset.
I don't know. The game brings me back to like the fun of driving. Like it builds you up.
You
and it's
always. What was the first one that you played?
It was Midtown Madness. I remember that.
Yeah, you were into driving games like way in the
I think
beginning.
even before that, I had the Need for Speed, and like if you do all, because they didn't have many maps then, right? So you just had the same 6 maps you have to go through in a rally race.
Yeah.
And like if you get first place in all of them, you'll unlock the 7th map.
Oh,
this is like I remember that. It was like those are cool, but then. And then Midtown Madness, I was really into driving.
Yeah, you were really, and you introduced me to cars like the Audi. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, Audi
like
TT. I remember that.
As the fast car in the game. You'd select it and be like, "Oh man, we're gonna lose, bro! It's so fast." And they had motorcycles in that game too, right?
I don't think I had motorcycles. That was a different game.
Oh, okay.
There's like Road Rash.
Yeah.
That's the motorcycle one I remember.
Yeah.
That was with you can hit them with the chains.
Yes.
Kick them off the place.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, we played that on your computer. Dude, that's so trippy. Your first system was a computer, and now you're
that's
computer.
True. Well, I'm still using it.
That's what I mean. Like
PlayStation. Yeah.
No, but like
you. Well, now I'm back. I built a computer. Yeah,
exactly.
I rebuilt another computer. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
My first thing was a PC.
Yeah, I remember. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, because I had the.
Who uses keyboards?
Yeah, right. And I had like the actual system.
Yeah.
So I was so confused. I was like, how do you play this? You were just using like the directional pad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then you got a controller later on.
Yeah. Then there was like compatible controllers for the PC. Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, now I can use my PS5 controller for the Halo.
Exactly. Damn, that's so funny. We really just like continuously repeat the same patterns, eh?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Me going back into racing, that's really the past that
that's true.
I haven't done it in a long time.
It wasn't until this podcast where I was like, oh, you used to always play. That's like the one game you'd always play.
Yeah.
Like you didn't play like adventure games. You didn't play like story games. I was into that, right?
Yeah, a lot of my stuff was just racing.
Yeah. You were really into. Yeah, that's so true, dude. You should check out the. I mean, not yet. Like it's not up there, but like, could you imagine a VR?
I think I would.
Around?
I would love to have that set up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you look around, and you see like the cars beside you as you're driving by. Wow.
That would be cool. That would be
so cool.
If they do that update, I think I do want to get that because I do want to get the VR2 this time around.
Okay, yeah.
For the PS5. So if they do an update to the
how much is the VR2?
Probably the same price as
like what were we talking
about?
A G?
Well, they don't have a price point yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be around 500-600. Same thing, about the same as the console.
Okay, forget the Apple Watch, bro. Because you were talking about like, oh, maybe this year I'll get the Apple Watch. Like, why do you need that? You know what I mean? Like, the VR is way cooler. If you're talking about pricing, right? They're basically the same. Like, if you bought an Apple Watch, it's the same price.
Yeah.
And
it's less wiring compared to like the first edition,
right?
Yeah, I would use that. Yeah.
Because like, watches.
Oh, imagine just watching it Also, I'll watch a movie.
Oh my
if
god,
I feel like
dude.
it's in theater.
Yeah, dude, I saw that. Oh no. I think I just like said that that's where it would go. If you put on the headset and you're in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they created that yet.
I think they have
that?
I think for the
Okay.
PC, I'm sure you can do that.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Imagine that, like you and another person have like, dude, you're in the metaverse. You and another person put on a headset and you're looking at each other while you're watching the movie, bro.
And you're eating popcorn, and this character's eating popcorn.
Yeah,
That'd be crazy.
Oh, actually, Mark Zuckerberg said this, and I was like, that's actually an apt way to say this.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about realities, right? We're like, we talk about I should make a clip of this. That's actually so genius. You reminded me. So he's like, reality, when we talk about like the metaverse, which is not reality,
Mm-hmm.
and then our physical reality,
Right.
he's like, it's all part of the same reality.
Yeah.
Just you're using a tool to
Mm-hmm.
reduce the distance between two individuals. That's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
We're all like differentiating, like, oh, that's the online world. He's like, no, the online world is as real as the
I
physical
mean,
world.
it's all in this world.
It is
right?
in this world. Yeah, that's what he's saying. And I was like, yeah, I never thought about it. Like, it's genius.
Yeah.
It is all in this world. This is just a tool we're using. To
Yeah, we will always. I mean, we've always done that, like mock things or make fun of things that we find
like
new or just weird. But then the weird becomes the norm,
Yeah, totally.
and then it's not weird anymore.
And he said this other thing, and I was like, dude, that's so true. He's like, we would spend X amount of money on clothes,
Mm-hmm.
right? For a Zoom meeting. Why wouldn't you do that for your avatar as well?
Mhm.
Like logically.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people are going to see your avatar, why wouldn't you spend money on your avatar?
Yeah, it just feels weird because
It feels weird.
because it's right now it's not a physical thing that you're buying.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But like that actually logically made sense to me.
It makes sense, but we have to get over that hump of
yeah,
it being
totally.
weird, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like we're used to buying clothes for the characters on GTA.
yeah.
That's normal, but like,
Yeah, true. But not for our avatar.
not for our avatar yet.
But we'll readily also do it for our physical avatar, which is our bodies.
Of course, yeah. Those physically tangible things.
But like,
right?
let's say you lived in a completely different country,
Mhm.
and let's say I never saw you physically.
Mhm.
Like, let's say
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
doing
yeah.
this podcast, and like you lived in a different part of the world.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
What is the difference between that and this? If I put on this VR headset and I see you in front of me, just like I see you right now,
Mhm.
and we're having the same conversation, like, what is the
Yeah,
difference?
yeah.
They're
And your
both
first time
real.
meeting your VR self, so you gotta look nice.
Yeah, totally. Right? Yeah. No, but for real though,
Yeah,
they're the same thing.
Yeah.
We just classify them as different because you're right. We haven't made that jump psychologically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm sure there was. That's how it's always been. Like it's just weird at first,
true,
and
true.
then when it becomes normal, it's like it's weird to put. Why would you put your life story on social media?
Yeah,
That was the beginning.
Yeah, that was in the beginning.
And like now it's just normal.
Dude, all right. That's so funny you said that. Remember when we were younger and I'd wear I remember I got made fun of this one time where I'd wear long johns underneath my shorts.
Yeah.
So do you remember me wearing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I did that is I did that in my Tony Hawk Pro Skater guy, and I was like, that's cool, so I'll do that in real life. But now basketball players do that all the time. They have like spandex shorts that they wear underneath, spandex pants that they wear underneath their shorts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not weird now,
Yeah.
but it's like you're right. When you first do it, it's weird.
Yeah. Until it becomes the norm.
Normal, yeah, because we just adapt as human beings.
Yeah.
Let that be a lesson about climate change and patriotism and all that stuff. All right, cool. That's a good one. All right,
Cool.
I feel satisfied. All right, till next time. Take it easy, fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, fish.
Peace.